because it's a different set of rules. But I'm ranting right now, so it doesn't mean a damn thing. Just talked about playing tennis, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense, because I mean, like,
let's put it this way. There are several questions that were asking about where's powerlifting going to be in 10 years? When is coaching of powerlifting going to regulate itself? And I can go on, when's gear going to come back? Is gear going to come back? It's all the same crap. What's going to happen in the next 10 years of powerlifting? So I'll guess, since I just introduced it, I'll answer first and let Joe answer from there, because you're going to have two completely different perspectives, because our competitive time, Joe's and mine, didn't even overlap. So we're talking vastly different time periods in the sport. Some things I want to throw out there immediately, just to kind of get them off of the table when you're talking about the future of powerlifting, is there's certain things like squat depth, judging, federations, weigh-ins. These things, they're always going to be debated in the sport. No matter whatever happens in the sport, they're always going to be debated in the sport. They were debated from the first competition, and they're going to be debated forever. I call those items right there, that is part of the sport culture. It's not going to change. It kind of makes it what it is. And I kind of like that it's in there, because it always leaves something to talk about, bitch about, rant about, and so forth. And it's never as widespread as people make it out to be. It just sucks if it, hits a world record or something like that. And it's always hit a world record. That's cultural. That's not going to change. That is, like in football, the pass interference that didn't get called, or the holding that was bullshit. That's always going to be in there. Now, the future of powerlifting and what is the next 10 years, look at the sport since it started, and with the differences that have been made in each 10-year block. They're fucking substantial. So just in the period that I've been in the sport, the IPF has been associated with 3 different American federations. So we can sit here and say, well, the USAPL is going to be the greatest thing in 10 years. Who the fuck knows if the IPF is even going to be associated with them? Because they weren't 10 years ago. I think it was the AAU first, then it was the USPF, and then it was the ADFPA, and then it's the USAPL. So Ben Pullock would be great to answer this, because I could be full of shit on some of this stuff, but it's changed, So that's why I said the federation is more of a cultural type of thing. That's really not going to happen. Now, what's happened over the sport in the past 10 years, and I don't want to go back and talk about how the athletes have changed the sport and made it all raw, because they also changed the sport to make it all gear. So the athletes have way more control than what they think they do. That's the one thing I like to change, is for them to understand they do actually vote with where they compete. They really do. They don't think they do, but they really do. What's happened now is, because it's becoming, and I don't want to say it's mainstream, because it's still at 40,000 competitors, or even if it's 200,000 people who train like a powerlifter, that's a whole nother debate, but train like a powerlifter, that's still a very small number compared to high school football players and all this other kind of stuff. So it's very small, but it is way bigger, from a visual standpoint than it's ever been. With growth are going to come more problems. With growth comes the opportunity for people to monetize. All right, so 10 years ago, a powerlifting coach was, the old beat up dude that was in some gym somewhere in a basement showing people how to do the lifts. Now a powerlifting coach is somebody that you can hire online. Good or bad, that can be debated, but that happens with growth. If there wasn't growth, there would be nobody for these people to train. And as it grows more, there's going to be more of that. So of course the quality is going to be just like any other consumer service. It's going to be shitty and it's going to be very good. You know, there's shitty doctors, shitty attorneys, and very good doctors, very good attorneys. That comes with a free market system. Meet directors the same way. You know, when I was in the sport, meet directors just assumed they weren't going to make money. If they could break even, thank God they break even. You know, now meet directors, it's an income source because they can pack lifters in the door. So now you have people running meets just to make money, where before they were running meets for the lifters. You got people training lifters just to make money, where before you had people training lifters because they love training lifters. That doesn't mean that there still aren't meet directors running meets because they love the sport. There still aren't people coaching that really want to help lifters. It's just magnified because it's bigger. That's what happens. Everybody wanted the sport to get bigger, right? That was everybody's goal. We want to grow the sport, we want to grow the sport, but nobody stopped to think what's going to happen with the growth. Not that it's good nor that it's bad. It's just part of a free market system. It's how it works. And you know, if it doubles again in size, there's going to be other problems, other issues. The cultural ones are always, like I said, they're always going to be the same. The issues people need to concern themselves today are not the cultural ones, but the ones that come from the growth. You know, that's the ones that have to be figured out. And for me, you know, I own a business, so of course I'm going to have a skewed view. I think competition takes care of everything in time. So if you got shitty online trainers, they're not going to be around. You know, they'll be around for a little bit, then they'll be gone. The cream will rise to the top. So where I see it in 10 years, I can't even predict that. Because when the sport was raw to begin with, nobody predicted single ply. When it was single ply, nobody predicted the fact people would be wearing 3-4 ply canvas suits. Obviously when it was 3 or 4 ply canvas suits, nobody was thinking, holy shit, there's going to be raw. So nobody's going to predict what the next 10 years are going to be. You just got to enjoy the ride while you're there and understand the macro and microeconomics that's going on. And when you have that, it's a little bit easier pill to swallow. It's being a lifter and not being a lifter. It's way harder to swallow those pills when you're still a lifter. Way harder. That's why I tell all the lifters I know, don't look behind the curtain. Kind of like the Wizard of Oz, just don't fucking do it. Just lift the weights, go to the platform, do what you're supposed to do. Don't fucking look behind the curtain because you're going to get pissed. You're not going to like it. But it's always been that way. So that's my out. I mean, I'll let him speak more of the micro stuff, the stuff that's making people mad today as lifters. Because 10 years ago, my answer would not have been this. You know, I was still competing. 10, 15 years ago, I'd be like, motherfucker, there needs to be one fucking meet where everybody gets together, you know, and so I'll let you speak on those things.
See, and I mean that. Well, honestly, like that's the perfect answer, just because it's looking at the larger scale things, but it's also still puts the responsibility on us. Like I'm still competing. I still coach people that are competing, and ultimately it is a customer service industry. Like it's sort of putting your money where your mouth is. Like if I believe in a certain type of meat, and a meat where like the meat is for the lifter, it's not and I actually thought of this while you were talking. There's a meat, I'm not gonna put it out there, but there's a meet that I know of that is having 500 lifters and 5 platforms, and it's a one-day meet, and the entry fee is $175.
Yeah. Let's see.
What is that? That's not for the lifters. Like,
No.
you know that's not, and people are still going to sign up, but you have to think about it. Like if you believe in a certain type of venue, certain type of performance, certain type of powerlifting that you want powerlifting to be, put your money there, feed into it, like go towards that. And it's our responsibility to do so. Like that's such a big thing. Like we have control. Like who would have thought a couple of years ago that the internet would have been able to have squats wiped from the record books because overwhelming majority saw it and was like, okay, that like there's give or take, but that was blatant. And that's a thing that actually happened, like, which is sometimes it gets a little out of hand, but other times it's like, wow, that actually, like, we actually made change, like, holy crap. But the IPF has been focusing forever on getting getting powerlifting in the Olympics. That's never going to happen. Weightlifting is probably going to get pushed out of the Olympics before powerlifting gets put into the Olympics. There's already a barbell sport, and it is plagued with drug use and drug failures. Why would they put powerlifting in that? Like, just think about it in terms of common sense. And I honestly, like, I don't even think it would be good for the sport. And on a smaller level, like, I want to see bigger meets with bigger prize monies going to the lifters, actually, like, turning this into a sport that is more of a legitimate sport and not just a hobby that we dump money into and sacrifice, like, life and limb for.
See, at 500 lifters, there should be prize money.
There's prize money, but it's nowhere near what it should be. Like, if I'm not going to do the math. I'm not, but it's nowhere near. I believe, like, top prize is like $1,000. You know, which it's like, just think about that. Like,
no, but again, as I said, with growth, you're going to have people getting into the sport that their main goal is to monetize what they're doing. You know, so you're going to have, and I'm not saying that this person is that way, because I don't know even who you're talking about, but you're going to have people that are coming in that just want to run meets because they don't want to work their day job anymore. They want to quit, just do meets and be able to pull in, you know, whatever it's going to take per year just from running meets. So,
and that circles back to what you said prior, like, most, not most, but like a lot of the best online coaches out there have another day job, because then you're not doing it for the money. There are people I know that have quit their job to just online coach and just do that, and it's not bad. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but some of those people, they might not be in it for the right reasons if ultimately it comes down to making money. It's the same thing with meet directors. And in a free market, I really think, like Dave said, the best will outshine the worst, but it is still our responsibility, like everybody watching this video, everybody competing, everybody that reads the articles on the site, support the people that support you. You know, if you believe that this particular federation, meets, coach, gym, whatever, if they have your best interests at heart and want you to succeed, stick with them and support them and do it wholeheartedly. Because if they don't, you shouldn't be with them, and they shouldn't be around.
In the growth that we're seeing right now, it's still new. All right, so it could be a trend. You know, it could cycle right back down. You know, we don't know. You know, that's why I'm saying, just enjoy, you know, what you can while you can. And, you know, I'm still old school, so I come from the, you know, I lean back towards, I guess, the older days when it comes to, like, meet directors should at some point in time have been a lifter that's competed at a national level or above. And people, I feel the same way. If you're going to work with lifters that are, you know, higher caliber lifters, you should have been a lifter at least, you know, a class 1 or elite total. And people bitch and they complain and they do this and they do that, but all I'll say is, you know, when I played football in junior high school, my coach told me to play tennis. It was going to help my lateral speed, so I played fucking tennis with my buddy who was on the tennis team. At one point in time, I kind of knew how to score the game. I never took fucking tennis lessons. I played tennis, but I'll tell you right now, I didn't know the sport of tennis anywhere near as well as he did, that competed in tournaments at a high school level. You know, I also played racquetball to develop, you know, linear speed and all the other kind of stuff. Have no idea what the fucking rules of racquetball were, but I played fucking racquetball. You know, I played football, you know, in high school, but had no idea what it's like to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to conditioning as a D1 football player. You know, so as sports move up in caliber, it's a different world, because the number of people who can do it decreased tremendously. So yes, there's outliers. You know, I hear them all the time. Well, so-and-so never lifted. He does fucking this and does that. Well, he's the fucking outlier. You know, the people who understand the advanced lifters are the ones that are fucked in the head the same way that they are. You know, because it's a different set of rules. But I'm ranting right now, so it doesn't mean a damn thing. Just talked about playing tennis, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense, because I mean, like, I've gotten into arguments with people over this before, because it's not like, if I'm not saying you have to hold all-time world records to coach a person that is going for all-time world records, but you have to walk the walk at some point. You know, like, if you don't know if you don't know what it's like to be under a weight, or at least like near a weight that like could legitimately like injure you or end your life, it's very hard to get a person that is doing that to be able to relate to you and listen to you. And it sort of undermines the whole aspect of a coach-athlete relationship unless that athlete is just completely blindly obedient. And they might be, and if they are, great, but like I would still argue that the coach would be a better coach if they were there.
Here's a perfect example. When Ted did that meet, he squatted the 900 pounds. He came out, he wanted to pass on his third, right? So it's Joe, myself, and JP are standing there, and we're looking at each other like, what the fuck? And he's like, no, man, I'm done. He said, that was heavy as fuck. And we're saying it's 900 pounds. It's going to feel heavy as fuck. 800 doesn't feel like 900. It's a fucking big difference. And unless you've had those weights on your back, I think 890 feels fucking, 900 is different than 890. It's like,
I tell people, like, when you have that amount of weight on your back, there's just a threshold, like, where it's not because it's a number, it's just because of like this load on your system. Alarms go off in your head, and your body, like, no matter how in the void state I am or how amped up I am, when I first walked out that first 905 squat I hit here, I walked it out, and my brain is like, you're gonna fucking die. Like, don't do this. What the fuck are you doing? And I was psyched. I was in the zone, but it's just that instant where it's like just fight or flight mode, and it's just like, this is gonna kill you, this is gonna kill you, what are you doing, what are you doing? And sometimes you need...
Yeah, it's heavy. I mean, it's fucking heavy.
Yeah.
And so all three of us who have had 900 on our back are like, you know, dude, it's just heavy. It's just the way it is. Get used to it. It's always going to be like this. And he ended up squatting 945 or whatever it was. So 45 pounds more when he was going to pass, just because you had three guys there that have been through exactly the same thing and knew, dude, it feels completely different than anything else that you've ever done. So how would somebody know that if he had a different handler that's never had 900 pounds on his back, what would have happened that day? I can say with 100% certainty he would have passed his third. 100%. So now you tell me how that person who hasn't had the experience can help somebody who's trying to go for an all-time world record or a top 5 lift. In my world, it doesn't happen. Outliers, very rare.